Joining me now with a reaction is Raheem Kassam, Lincoln Fellow at the Claremont Institute and author of the new piece, Time's Failing Person of the Year list, a product of cultural decline. David Goodfriend, former aide to President Clinton, is also here, along with Jeffrey Lord, contributing editor to the American Spectator and former aide to President Reagan. Raheem, let's start with you. Your thoughts on the failure of the media and Democrats who can't seem to grasp the current moment. What happened today, for instance?
They love slapping themselves on the back, and the Time magazine cover is just more of them slapping themselves on the back and saying, you know, we are the people that you should all aspire to and that you should all listen to. I mean, you remember when I think it was the Hillary Clinton emails came out and they said, you know, you're not supposed to read this, the public aren't supposed to read it, but we'll filter this for you and you just listen to what we say. And the same thing you saw happening today as well. I mean, imagine that room, imagine the Oval Office, if the roles had been reversed and those were Republicans sitting there and it was a Democrat president. You know, would the press have gone to such great extent as they did today to go, oh, what an absolute mania happened today in the Oval Office. This is unbelievable. It's extraordinary. And they wouldn't have done it. And they never did it under Obama. Remember, Obama used to kick people out of press conferences too. But it only gets reported on when it's President Trump. So for me, you know, the two things couldn't have timed themselves to better together today. The Time magazine front cover and what we saw unfold in the Oval Office.
David, here are some of the Persons of the Year runner-ups. We had Mueller. You could actually make a decent case for Mueller being the Person of the Year. You had Markle. Let's give a nod to the Brits with Markle.
Please don't.
You had Putin. You had Blasey Ford, JN, and then you had, it says David Trump on my sheet, but I assume they mean Donald Trump. So, I mean, journalists giving awards to other journalists, I mean, there's lots of heroism out there. We have some ideas coming up later on in the show, but it's a little self-serving, don't you think? And it's part of the bubble of the media and politics, which I'm probably part of. I try not to be, but I'm here, so I'm probably part of it. I'm probably part of the problem.
Well, you invite me on your show, so I like you.
But I like you, so that's okay. We like each other. Yeah, Raheem hates all of us. Jeffrey, we don't even want to talk about late at night. We don't even have a glass of wine on the set.
So I'm going to shock Raheem here and say that I don't often agree with things I read in the Daily Caller, and I don't often agree with what you write, Raheem. However, I do think Bob Mueller would have been an excellent choice. I mean, we have a memo now that names the president as an unindicted co-conspirator. When's the last time that has happened?
They haven't used
that
We have
33
phrase.
Indictments around the world, not just Americans. We have senior White House staff who have been convicted or
They don't say
crimes.
unindicted
That's
co-conspirator.
incredible.
Wait a second.
No, but
Are we supposed to be the guardians of the truth here?
Hold on a second.
They don't say that in the name one place it says that.
It says individual one was working with Cohen.
Don't throw that word co-conspirator around,
unindicted co-conspirator. But I agree with you. I agree with you. I think Bob Mueller would have been a fantastic choice because he really has changed the world. Not since Richard Nixon
journalists
have
are
we
self-serving.
seen so
All right, let's go, Jeffrey.
I think that was a good choice. I back Bob Mueller as your suggestion for who should be next.
They're great.
Yeah, we got to get to Jeff.
They're great talking points, but put it this way: it says for better or worse people that have impacted the world.
All right.
And Bob Mueller did do that.
I agree. I agree.
Well, but when they gave it to Trump, Jeffrey, we don't want to spend all our time on this. When they gave it to Trump, it has to be this snarky comment. This is back in 2016. He shocks the world by winning the presidency. They had to give it to him. You know, they hated to give it to him. For reminding America that demagoguery feeds on despair and that truth is only as powerful as the trust in those who speak it. You know, then the picture of Obama is so like aspirational. Then the picture of Trump is this menacing figure on a wingback chair, like turning around. Trump looks like horror. It just right down to the photo they select. It's so obvious.
My favorite is that in 2008, when President Obama was elected and was selected as Person of the Year, I'm not kidding you, they compared him to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Seriously. And then we get to Donald Trump, and he's the president of the divided states of America, and he's a demagogue and all of this. I mean, this is what they do. This is why Time magazine has been sold 3 times, gotten rid of by its parent company, bought by somebody else, who then sold it again a few months after they got it.
Yeah, diminishing readership.
I mean, their audience is going down.
Yeah, this is a shtick.
Right.
The magazines love doing lists because lists always sell. Click, click, click. Oh, 10, top 10. This, the list. It's lazy journalism. Okay, so we got to move to Pelosi because Pelosi reacted after the Oval Office, which you couldn't take your eyes off of. It was wild today. She comes out and she makes a comment about why she was concerned about the transparency of it all. Let's watch.
I would just say this: you want to know if it was more productive behind the scenes. I hear some of the reporters saying, well, Fox reporters saying, why did we not want transparency in this discussion? We didn't want to contradict the president when he was putting forth figures that had no reality to them, no basis in fact.
Raheem, no basis in fact. I mean, the fact Donald Trump has wanted a wall for more than 3 years. Yeah. He's arguing and fighting for the wall. I guess she's referring to when he said certain sectors have less immigration. I'm not sure whether that was accurate. I never have gotten a read on that. I'm not sure that was accurate or not, but she's not shy about criticizing him ever in public.
For somebody who makes her living by criticizing this president, you'd think she'd want every camera in the room. If she's so certain that he's saying falsehoods, then put all the cameras in the world in the room and get everyone to report on it. It seems utterly bizarre that take it back from sort of partisan politics, but from a campaigning standpoint, which is what she's doing here, you would want that if you believed you were in the right. You only don't want that if you don't believe you're in the right, or that you don't believe that your oratory can cut through with the American people. And I think she gets that.
Again, yeah, weren't Democrats always against? Weren't Democrats and a lot of Republicans, at least the populists, were against the backroom deals, like smoke-filled rooms where all the decisions are made and all the people come out afterward and say, "This is how you dumb little people are going to live," because we already made the decisions. Backslapping, we had a beer together, then we were going to tell you how to live. These cameras come in and we actually see what they say when they're a little nervous. You see the body language of Schumer. I loved it from beginning to end. I love seeing them squirm with Trump.
I don't know if it's the British accent or the ascot. I'm agreeing with you so much tonight.
Okay,
we're not making for good television, but I will tell you this. No disrespect to Nancy Pelosi or to Chuck Schumer, but did you notice who was missing? Did you notice who was missing? The people actually running the Congress? Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan, who are actually running the Congress right now. Wow. They are running the lame duck Congress. These people have nothing to do with the final deal. He needed to have all of the leaders there, and that's why it was such good television, Laura, because it was staged by Donald Trump.
Admit it, wasn't it brilliant for Trump to call them in? I mean, they came into his sandbox.
And Laura, but I'll tell you this: the shutdown is still going to be on here, and we will win elections.
We're going to get to the shutdown. We're getting into the politics of the shutdown and the mechanics of what's going to happen in the next block, but. Jeffrey, I think this was classic Trump, taking control of the narrative. It wasn't all clean and perfect, believe me. I mean, I think a couple little things he said, I might have said them differently. But he was engaged. He was engaged. He's like, look, we're doing this.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly right. And if you notice, you couldn't help but notice Nancy Pelosi's little dig. She says, well, a reporter asked, and then she backs up and says, a Fox reporter asked. Oh, my goodness, heaven forbid that somebody commit journalism in the Oval Office.
No, again,
it's just astounding.
I think again, we're getting back to the theme of my angle. The guardians of the truth. Right. And when these 44 senators come out, bipartisan, they come out, the big op-ed, and Panetta was one of them. I want to play a little snippet from what he said today with Andrea Mitchell. Let's watch.
We have just seen a perfect example of how not to govern the country. To have that kind of dispute and do it openly before the press at a time when they really do need to sit down and see if there's a way to work out a deal here. But to confront each other that way and to have everybody yelling at one another, I think has just sent a terrible message to the American people about how our democracy functions in Washington.
Does he know his history? How democracy, I mean, they were dueling in the U.S. Congress. I mean, democracy is rough and tumble. People are arguing at their dinner tables. It's okay. We're going to survive an Oval Office, some
No, I understand. But listen,
discomfort.
don't you think
They're
that
all
there's
worried
a difference
about it.
between theatrics and results? If that debate had
Trump gets results. They do personal invective.
If he shuts down the government, is that a good result?
Yes.
I think absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. The majority of Americans, through the polling that just occurred in the election, seem to disagree. So we'll find out again.
Didn't hurt him last time it happened.
Actually, you just lost the House, and actually, you say that's just fine. I agree. That really is what conservatives think. They're like,
2013
we'll just shut it all
down, which was a real shutdown. That didn't hurt the Republicans.
Not everyone has to agree all the time, as you and I don't have to agree all the time. But there is a goal in mind. That man was elected on that goal, and he's going to do it.
He's got to get that wall built, and it's got to be a wall. It can't be like a patchwork see-through drone. All right, Jeffrey, sorry, we got to go. We'll